This is the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast, and we're here to build autonomous athletes and put phenomenal programming into every garage, basement, and spare bedroom out there. I'm Jerred Moon, and I'm with Joe Courtney. We are strength and conditioning coaches who have turned over 20,000 people into garage gym athletes over the last decade. And we're here to reduce the information overload that exists in the health and fitness industry today. We're going to do that by covering relevant science and give actionable takeaways, not only from the data, but from our years of experience. So let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Today, it's just me, and this should be a relatively short episode. What I want to go over is the news cycle we have here at Garage Gym Athlete. More specifically, I'm going to be going over just the hard to kill track. So before we dive in, a few things you need to know. If you want to check out the new programming for this cycle, meaning you can see the shred track, a sample week, and kind of a brief, and if you want to see the endure track and the strength track and even the hard to kill track, you want to see all of that laid out in a PDF format. You can test some of the workouts on your own. You can go to garagegymathlete.com/2024. So 2024. And so one more time, that's garagegymathlete.com/2024. And that's the best way if you want to know what's going on, because the new cycle starts this week. We are starting today. If you're listening to this on Monday, April 1st, then it starts today. And so now is a great time to be switching tracks to find out where you want to go and what you want to do this cycle over the next 12 weeks. And really, if you are one of our athletes, I do highly recommend trying out the hard to kill track, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. And if you're someone who hasn't done any of our training, go download the sample, see what it's all about, and see if it's something that you want to be a part of. And if you do want to be a part of it, awesome. Go to garagegymathlete.com. Pretty easy to navigate your way to a free trial from there. And you can join whichever track you want. Again, if you go download this PDF, you can see everything in the PDF for kind of the cycle overview and then also the sample workouts. But the reason I want to get in here today, or get on the podcast today and talk more specifically about just the hard to kill track, is because if you've been listening to the podcast over the last couple of months this year, you'll notice I've been experimenting with a lot of different things. I've been talking about trying concurrent training in a different way, trying interval weight training, working on some different protocols, trying to get away from running, but also seeing if I can add the conditioning elements that I want and get really fit with a high VO2 max without having to spend hours and hours on a bike or on the road running or whatever. And that's what I've been experimenting with for the last couple of months. I've still been doing a lot of running because of just a race that I have coming up, but I'm about to abandon all that once that race is over for this specific cycle. And I'm really excited about it. Like I said, it's nothing I've ever done before. I've been experimenting with this kind of in pieces. And now that I have the full cycle put together, I want to share it with everybody and try and get you excited about it, because I'm really excited about it. And I think anybody who's interested in concurrent training, which is having strength, having fitness, having a high VO2 max, being really ready for anything as far as your fitness is concerned, the hard to kill track is where you're going to want to be. So let me go over this real quick, and that will be the episode for today. What we have at Garage Gym Athlete across 7 days, we have 4 kind of mandatory days, recommended days, a 5th day, which is Meet Yourself Saturday, and 2 rest days. So I'm going to go over it day by day and kind of talk about what's going in each day and where my head was at. But before I do that, I just want to tell you, again, the overall thesis, the idea behind what I'm trying to do, the reason we're stepping outside, even how hard to kill is typically programmed, is because after doing a lot of reading and research and experimentation, I feel like we haven't fully uncovered what the body is capable of adapting to when doing concurrent training. Everyone's been too stuck in this combining running with weightlifting and trying to get really good at those two things. Like, okay, I'm going to do bodybuilding and then I'm going to run, and doing those two things and switching days or whatever. And to be honest, that's what I've been doing for the last several months. trying to maintain muscle mass while also prepping for an ultra marathon. And I honestly, I haven't not enjoyed it. I don't enjoy running that much. I don't think it's good for me personally. And I'll talk more about that on later episodes. And so as I've started to uncover, I was like, well, I don't think that's the best idea. And it's, well, is it CrossFit? Is it just like doing all of these mixed modal activities? And then I was like, no, there's not enough. There's never been enough structure in CrossFit, right? It's like high intensity every single day. And when structure does come, it's really typically just from a smart coach. It's not from CrossFit itself. It's a smart coach who's learning how to program those things. And so I've taken everything that I can from all of these worlds, concurrent training, focusing on like one modality, then the next, also mixed modality, combining all those things into this cycle. And I'm really excited about what's going to come out at the other end, because in my minimal testing, I've gained some serious fitness in a very short amount of time, unlike anything else really I've ever done. So let's dive in what you can expect and what each day of the week is going to look like. So on the Hard to Kill track, on Mondays will be our monostructural day. So monostructural means that you're going to have just one piece of conditioning equipment or modality. So what that means is I would recommend for the full cycle that you do select one thing. And that meaning if you want to row every Monday, row. If you want to run every Monday, run. If you want to do jump rope, do that. If you want to do airdyne, if you want to do ski erg, if you want to do bike erg, if you want to do bike, if you have any conditioning contraption or machine that you want to get better at, do that thing. Or if you just want to run on the road, that's great too, or bike on the road, whatever. But try and stay with one if you can. And what this looks like is it works in progressive waves. So how I program at Garage Gym Athlete is we have 3 weeks of ramping up, and then the 4th week ramps down. It's a deload, not the easy deload. It's just a deload. It's different than what we typically do. And then that happens 2 more times. So we ramp up weeks 1, 2, and 3, ramp down week 4, ramp up week 5, 6, 7, ramp down week 8, ramp up week 9, 10, 11, ramp down week 12. That's pretty much a cycle. Then we do testing. And so what this is going to look like, this is going to be really VO2 max work for a monostructural conditioning element. Like we start week 1 with 30 sets of 30-30s. So that's 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. We're going to do 30 sets of that. So that's where the week starts. And that's going to be 30 minutes. Then there's some zone 2 warm up and cool down. Then it progresses up to 3 minutes, up to 15 minutes, where we have established heart rate zones in all of this interval work that we're doing. And this is where you're going to really push the envelope and be able to start to develop that like top end speed, that VO2 max, all the things that might be lacking if you're doing too much zone 2 or too much low intensity. So that's what a Monday is going to look like. Pretty easy. You can take your brain out of it here. All you have to do, follow the programming and pick one machine. You can bounce around machines if you want to. I just don't recommend it if you want to like actually see some really cool progress. Because if you're like, well, I did this in week 1, look what I'm able to do by week 12. You'll be really impressed. Your runs will get so much better if you were to select running or whatever machine you want. So take your brain out of it, follow the programming, a lot of interval work, and that's going to be awesome. That's Monday. Now on Tuesdays, what we're doing is interval weight training, but lower body. So that is going to be every single Tuesday. And it's going to switch from week to week on focusing either on more of squatting motions or pulling motions like the deadlift. And it's going to switch week to week. But what I've done, and I talked about this in my interval weight training podcast episode, if you want to go back a couple episodes and listen to that, I'm not going to hash out everything that interval weight training is. But what I've taken is everything in the interval weight training protocol and body geometry, and I combined them together. And it took a lot of thought and work to get them to meld, but they do so very, very well. And I took what Pat O'Shea worked on for 30 years, developing the interval weight training system. And I took what I've been working on for a decade, which is body geometry, and pushed them together and made really like a symphony of exercise is what I will call it. So you'll do 3 rounds of a heavy back squat and then immediately do some sort of conditioning. Again, you can run, you can do a bike, you can do airdyne, whatever. And what this does is you're going to get really high heart rate, but then you're going to rest. There's always going to be this dedicated rest. And you're going to do that 2 separate times. Now, I don't want to get into all the weeds here because it's too hard for me to say all these things. But just think big picture, what am I doing? I'm doing a heavy lift combined, supersetted with a conditioning element. And you're going to do that for a couple rounds. You'll take a longer break, and then you're going to do it again. This is all in one day. And then you round out the day with a superset, more of that like body geometry, hypertrophy bodybuilding style, where you can get a little bit more, singularly focused. Think dumbbell curls, easy bar curls, like you'll have some of those in there. You'll have specific ab work, specific rotational work, dumbbell shoulder press. Like you'll be working on isolation movements more and core work, like just making sure that your core all the way around the body is taken care of, getting different movement patterns in, rotational movement, different planes of movement. So anyway, that is what the interval weight training is going to look like on Tuesdays. It's going to be lower body. So that's what you can expect. And now it's typically, I've been testing it this way specifically, and it can be difficult to go from a hard interval day on Monday to a lower body on Tuesday. But I like it that way because it really it increases that level of training, like actually getting into the weeds of training. And if it is too much for anybody, you can switch the other interval weight training day. But I do like how it's structured right now when I've been hitting it this way. So that is Tuesdays. Wednesdays, this is a very interesting one. This is where we're going to be doing every single week a 42-minute EMOM. So an EMOM is every minute on the minute. So I will give you an example in week one. Week one, minute one would be deadlift. You're going to do, let's say, 4 to 6 reps. So let's say you do 6 reps of the deadlift, and that takes you 10 seconds. You now get to rest 50 seconds before your second minute. This is how EMOMs work if you're unfamiliar. Now in the second minute, you'll do jump rope or double unders. And then after that, you'll rest the remainder of that minute. Then you'll do some Turkish get-ups in the third minute. Then in the fourth minute, you'll do some handstand push-ups or elevated box push-ups. And then after those 4 minutes of exercise, so it's 10 to 20 seconds on, you get 40 to 50 seconds rest. And then you do the next exercise, same thing, next exercise, you do 4 exercises. Then you rest for 2 minutes. And the whole goal of doing this entire 42-minute EMOM is to stay in zone 2 or zone 3. This is not a CrossFit style workout, even though it has some of the movements that might be more familiar with CrossFit. You do not want your heart rate to get above zone 2 or zone 3. Being in zone 3 is fine. Being in zone 2 is fine. Zone 1, you're not trying hard enough. Zone 4, you're trying too hard. So this is where we're taking something that really hasn't been tested and what I'm really excited about, and doing just grunt work in zone 2 for an allotted amount of time that would be zone, like people would do zone 2 running. And I can't see anything in the literature that dictates that you can't do this. It's just hard to do. It's like people get frustrated. You'll see the first time you do it. You're like, wait, I'm trying to stay in zone 2 or zone 3 for all this stuff. And what this might mean as you're going through it is you're just going to have to figure things out. I don't want to say the first couple weeks will be frustrating. It's more like the first time you do this, it'll be a little bit frustrating because you're trying to stay in this heart rate zone 2 or zone 3. That might mean you have to change the rep scheme a little bit. You're like, okay, I can do the 4 to 6 reps on the deadlift, but when I get to double unders, I can't do 30 reps. I need to do 20 to keep my heart rate where I want it. And that's what you'll have to learn. That's where a little bit of the art comes in on your side. We give you all the parameters, like here's when you rest, here's when you work, here are the heart rate zones. But then you have to know yourself of don't push too hard, don't go into zone 4. And if you are getting to zone 4, you just stop. Just stop, take a little break, and then get going again. So these are going to be a lot of fun, and I think they're going to improve people's fitness, but it's going to be very different than what people are used to when they see a workout written like this. Normally you see a workout like this, you're like going to go as hard as you possibly can, and that's not what we want here. And so that's every single week. We're not working up to this because it's zone 2 work. It's just grunt work. It's 42-minute EMOM every single Wednesday throughout the entire program. Now, the EMOMs change every single week. They never are they repeated, but it is a 42-minute EMOM every single Wednesday. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to that, maybe more than anything else. Now, if you didn't know, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursdays are rest days. Sundays are rest days. Saturdays for us are Meet Yourself Saturday workouts, which are really hard, challenging workouts. We do deem optional, but recommended. Now, Friday will be the last day I'm talking about, and that is just simply interval weight training, upper body. So very similar to what I was talking about with interval weight training lower. Big picture, what are you going to be doing? You'll do some sort of like barbell movement most of the time. It'd be like a strict press, something heavy. Then you'll go immediately from a strict press to a conditioning element. You'll go hard in those two. You'll rest, and then you do that a couple times, and then you'll take a longer break, and then boom, more upper body coupled with a conditioning element. And then after that, those rest periods are done. You do then go into the more body GO, like pull-ups, skull crushers, inverted rows, barbell shrugs, ab rollouts. So we're going down to isolation movements, not as taxing, but we're still doing all the muscle building activity, strength building activity that you need to do to maintain being a healthy human and also a strong human and a muscular human as you progress through concurrent training. Now, that is the entire hard to kill cycle. Now, in the weeds of how many different iterations of like different exercise combinations and how this is all written, if you can see the spreadsheets I'm looking at right now, they're pretty crazy. But for you, you don't have to worry about any of that. If you want to be on board for testing out some cutting edge concurrent training methodology, I would love for you to be a part of the Hard to Kill track. And that's why I want everyone to try. If you want to be on the shred track or endure track or strength track, because that meets up with your goals, absolutely go do that. But if you've ever thought about doing the Hard to Kill track, I want as many data points as I can possibly get from this cycle. So I'm very interested to see everyone in the community who's willing to try Hard to Kill track. And a lot of people are already on the Hard to Kill track. It's our most popular track. I just want to see what happens. Like I said, I've tested this only in my own training. There's only N of 1. So I can't promise you that it's going to be the best form of concurrent training that's ever been tested ever, because I haven't tested it on a large scale. What I have been testing for years is the Hard to Kill methodology that we've been doing. And I know that's effective. And I'm wondering if this is the next iteration. And it's not like Hard to Kill track would always be this way, but maybe we're figuring out some other ways to approach concurrent training that aren't so siloed, doing this thing and then doing that thing. And I think that we might have something here that's really special and is going to be really awesome. So if you're part of the community or you want to start, just for all those who are part of the community, go get your track change in, get on the Hard to Kill track. Would love to have you there, and then start providing feedback in the community. The best place to do that is the community, the Garage Gym Athlete community. You can add it right in there. Let us know how things are going. And then more importantly, what results you're seeing. We can pull a lot of data on the back end of our app and see what people are doing, how they're doing it, how workouts are coming in. But ultimately, I can't see everything on your end. I can't see your resting heart rate lower. I can't see your recovery times getting faster. I can't see your VO2 max increasing. I can't see your mile times I can see your mile times getting faster if you put it in the app. But a lot of these other biometric data points, I can't see unless you share them with me. So that's what I want. That's what I really want for people to share with me this cycle at Garage Gym Athlete, and more specifically during this cycle. So that's it for this one. Short podcast episode, but just know that the new cycle is here. If you want to be a part of it, go to garagegymathlete.com. If you want to see the sample training, go to garagegymathlete.com/2024. You can check any track out. Again, if you don't want to be in the Hard to Kill track, I know it's a hard sell on this one today. Go do something else. Do something that aligns with your goals. The most important thing is that you're doing something that lines up with what you will stick with and that you will do. So that's the most important part when it comes to training. But if you are looking to try something new and interesting, and you realize, hey, Mondays are always going to be this way, Tuesdays are always going to be this way, Wednesdays are always going to be this way, Fridays are always going to be this way, which is very different than what we typically do, and you're okay with that, hop on board the Hard to Kill track. Would love to have you. That's it for this one. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you.